Herb Buller was born in Winnipeg on October 20th, 1941, the son of Russian immigrants who came to Winnipeg after the Revolution. Herb's father had a profound influence on his life.
My dad was a maintenance guy working for an organization called Regal Bedding, and also did a lot of work for other companies, and he was known as the guy with the golden hands. And he had a number of goals for his kids. All of them should follow the faith, they should all get a good education, and they should get a good job, preferably a white-collar job. Okay, he didn't want them to be like he was, you know, working in a plant, working under machines, that kind of thing.
There was a defining event in our family, and that was when my dad lost his arm in an industrial accident. I was 6 years old, so Herb would have been 12. It made them, in the long run, wrap their lives in significance.
Herb started his first business venture with John Radmaker, a concrete company, to help them pay their way through university to become teachers. It turned out that teaching didn't suit either of them, and after being a teacher for 2 years, Herb quit and turned his attention to the concrete business. They bought a plant on Burnett Avenue and worked their way up to a larger plant on Gateway.
Bought a 1946 Fargo truck so we could haul our stuff around, and luckily got some jobs from one of the contractors that we knew, Jansen Builders, and he gave us all of their concrete work for the sidewalks and the driveways. And that put us through school.
They parked this truck behind our garage where we lived on 157 Hawthorne. And Herb had all of the tools, the forms, everything belonging to this concrete construction company right along the back lane behind our house, right beside the garden. Every year I would go and clean that mess up to try to make it look better for the neighborhood. So I don't know whether Herb ever paid our parents for it, but I mean, obviously he was an entrepreneur.
While John was away on winter holidays, Herb and his friend Frank DeFer hatched a plan.
He started to scribble on the napkin, which is his habit, which he still does up to this day, and he's writing. He said, well, Herb, I think we should get into the kitchen cabinet business. Frank was in the furniture business at DeFer Furniture, and so we talked about it, you know, Herb, I think you can do it, you know, we'll form a group of people and we can have this cabinet business. So when John got back from his holidays, I said to him, well, John, we're in the kitchen cabinet business.
I remember when he announced to the Midland Concrete Group that he and some business partners had decided to start a kitchen cabinet manufacturing company. He was asked, what do you know about kitchen cabinets? And he said, nothing, but we're going to learn together as we go along.
We built 10,000 square feet, and very quickly we grew to, I think, 40 or 50,000 square feet. We were building every year as our business increased, like it was the 70s. And things were growing like crazy. We were making money. We paid back the investment that we had made, which was $200,000 altogether. So when it gets down to it, wasn't much money from each of the partners.
In 1977 or thereabouts, he came to me and said, we need to begin a human resource department. And I think my first question was to him, what is a human resource department? And he wanted me to run it.
One day we shipped a load of lumber to Kitchen Craft. Partway through the running of it in the factory, I get this call, and people are upset that there's something wrong with my lumber and I'd better get out there right away. Somehow, a great big piece of metal had got lodged in the center of a tree. This is probably something that happened during the Civil War days, because this wood was coming out of the Civil War country, and it was probably part of a cannon shot or whatever that got lodged in this tree, and they were trying to run through my lumber. And so we all had a problem that, again, we resolved very nicely between us.
After 5 years, Herb and John had bought out their investors. They were on their own, for better or for worse.
Man, I was in charge of the finances my buddy John didn't have to worry about that. He had other things to worry about, getting the sales. And these worries, it was a 24-hour affair. And one night, in the middle of the night, Erna heard some noise, and she turned on the light, and all she saw was my rear end sticking out in the closet, with my head in the closet. And she says, "What are you doing?" I says, "I'm looking for money."
KitchenCraft has always been a cutting-edge company, and they were one of the first cabinet companies to offer European frameless cabinets. To simplify manufacturing, a high-risk decision was made to stop production of the traditional framed cabinets.
It was being accepted well in Canada, but the U.S., there was not a lot of frameless product being sold in the U.S., and we were already starting to make inroads in the U.S. So it was a tough decision, but it was a pivotal point in refocusing KitchenCraft, who KitchenCraft was, what they were making, and then moving ahead.
It was really, really good, and we grew the company till 1994, and then John, he wanted to, he was getting very involved in charitable work. And we told him that we wanted to buy him out. So that was a shock to him. But at the end of the meeting, he already stated his price.
Herb and his sons ran the company successfully, and in 1998, a buyer from New York expressed interest in buying the company.
We finally decided to sell. So there was happiness. And I realized as time came along, I was regretting the decision.
After a few years of retirement, Herb and his sons started a new cabinet company, Norcraft Cabinetry, that put them on a very unique path in Manitoba business.
Herb started the small business, grew it, sold it to Master Brands, this large conglomerate, went back in the business years later, grew it large enough to go on the New York Stock Exchange as a public company that, to my knowledge, no other Manitoban has done. Operated it as a public company for years, and then Master Brands came back and made an offer publicly to buy the entire company, which they did. And all that did was reinforce my view of Herb Buller and what a fine person he was, and they obviously thought he was a fine person with fine business ideas because they wanted to own all the companies that Herb built.
Herb and his wife have always been involved in the community, giving back at home and abroad.
We did a project with the Health Sciences Center and their new Siemens Center. We got involved there, which was a natural for us to do because Erna's a nurse. We got to do a project in the medical field. We work with World Vision, some of their projects. We built a school in China, way out there in the boondocks.
For Herb, writing a check is not enough. It's a lot better to become involved with an organization while helping them out, to be at the grassroots kind of level and to help improve the organization. So it was a lot more than writing a check for Herb. He wanted to help.